Hey guys, Dave Brown here with DB Sound Education based in Denver, Colorado. I just wanted to make this video today because I've been looking for ways to kind of streamline things at the school with technology for booking and payments and scheduling, as well as an online portal for students. And it seems there's a lot of options out there that do most things pretty decent, but nothing that does everything amazing. And if you're like me, you're a broke musician, so chances are some of those options are rendered off the table before you even start the process. So that means you need to hodgepodge everything together, which isn't the end of the world. There's some good options out there. So I'm going to talk about scheduling and the online portal today. Basically, I've been using Google Calendar to schedule my students, which is totally great. I still use it. I'm still going to use it. I've been writing their homework in the notes section for that day because it's right there. It's in the calendar, and it also has attachments so you can pull stuff from Google Drive if you have backing tracks or whatever. And then last week I discovered Google Classroom. I don't know how I missed it, but it's amazing. Now I wanted to make this video today because it's taken me 3 or 4 days to really figure out how the best way to use it is. And I made some mistakes that now I don't want other people to make. They're not end of the world stuff, but it'll save you some time. And it didn't really seem like there was any tutorials online that really showed how to use Google Classroom for music studios, for music lessons. And I think it's great. The students really seem to like it. And I think it's gonna make me a better teacher too, because you have a plan, you have a general idea, but when you're really kind of finagling everything and putting it in a linear path and seeing what works, what doesn't, and what's exciting, what's not, I feel like it's just like a really great organization tool. And the best part is, it'll just make your life easier because once you create a course, like things like pentatonic scales that you teach all the time, you're not going to have to write that out every time. It's just there. So you just assign it. It's a click. It's super easy. So let's get started, shall we? I'd recommend using Google Chrome. You can use whatever you want. You are an adult, maybe, hopefully. So you can do whatever you want, but I'd recommend that. Google Chrome has these 9 boxes up here. These are Google Apps. P.S. It's Google Classroom. So that means it's Gmail, which means if you don't have a Gmail account, you got to sign in. You got to figure it out. You got to sign up. Okay. I'm just going to click on Gmail just to show you exactly, what your scenario would look like. So those 9 boxes up at the top are still there. Basically, Google Classroom was right there, but normally it's down here in the other options. I just moved it up to the top because I use it a lot. So let me click on it. So it's a pretty great program. There are some roadblocks in it, quote unquote roadblocks that can be circumvented. I am going to show you how to circumvent those roadblocks when we come to them. But basically, before we get started, I just want to tell you exactly how I'm using this stuff. Basically, I use it in 2 different modes. One is the student mode, so I'll create a class for the student, and essentially that's their interface. So, and I'll explain exactly what you can do with a class, but essentially that's theirs. And then the other thing I do is create courses that I teach all the time. So basically, like for instance, a beginner method right there, class on theory right there. So everything's all done and ready to go. And you have 2 options. You can either allow that student to join the class so they have access to everything, or if you just want to give them a couple things, you can actually pull from that course into your student's profile. So we'll cover that as well. So yeah, let's just get started. There's a plus sign up at the top. You can either join a class or create a class. We're going to create a class. Now it gives you this warning. Most of the time, Google Classroom is used for high schools or colleges with large student bodies and faculty. This is not our scenario. It's a privacy thing that's just saying the students cannot use Google Classroom at a school with personal accounts. Basically, the way I'm running this is if it's an adult student, they're an adult. If it's a kid student, I have the parent's email with it. So the parent is totally involved with everything, total transparency, no problems. So I'm just going to click yes, I've read. We're going to continue. You can create a class. So I'll do the personal page. So we'll call this Steve because Steve is a great student. It's creating, creating. There we go. So it gives you a theme up at the top. You can select a theme. So for instance, they have all these different, clearly meant for school. You have English and history, math and science, arts. I like to throw a little guitar there. You can also upload a photo too if you want to, custom banner, but that's cool. So let's just talk about settings really quick. So we're going to go here. You can enter all this. So there are two ways to get a student into the class. You can enter their email, which I'll show you in a second, or there's just general code, okay? So you can just text this code to a student or email this code to the student and the parent. And all they have to do is when they sign in. So remember I said create a class or join a class. Instead of creating a class, you just click join a class, you put in that code, and then you're in. You have options here. You can copy it, so if you need to mail it. You can reset it, so you can just change it again, or you can disable it. Another option for potentially using Google Classroom would be, if you create a course on theory and you think it's really good and you might want to market it potentially too, you could turn that class code off. And then, when students buy the class, you can just enter their email, and that way, they're in, but there's not this code that they can just send to their friends or whatever. That's just one way I've thought about using this. Generally speaking, I'm just using it for my students though. Haven't even gotten that far. The stream, we'll talk about what the stream can do in a second, but you can say stream, students can post and comment, students can only comment, students or only teachers can post and comment. So basically the way I like to use it is that's the forum. So that if a student has any questions, that's their safe space to ask the questions if they're younger. That way, I can see it, but so can the parent. And basically you'll get an email if the student writes in that. So it's pretty efficient. You get an email and you go, okay, they got a question. I'll just respond really quick. And I'll show you what else you can do with the stream, but basically that's a good start. Show only deleted items. You get the idea. Okay, we're out of class settings now. So here's the front page. This is the stream. So again, with the stream, you can type something. You can type whatever you want. If there's multiple students in it, again, I'm just using this as a student or maybe a student and a parent. You're not worried about it. So you can write all this in, okay? And then you can attach things if you need to. So let's say your student had a question, they're like, this doesn't sound right. They could even record a video themselves, post it. I can adjudicate it and not have to wait, 3, 4, 5 days. I can just go, yeah, that's good. Or if not, I can, respond with another video going, just really quick, this is how it's done. That kind of a thing. Really, any kind of communication right there. When you start to sign homework, it'll show up right here, but we'll get to that later. And that pretty much covers it for that page. So this is the classwork page. This is where the majority of stuff goes down. You'll notice you have a class drive folder and a Google Calendar. So things that I don't like about this Google Classroom, it automatically creates a Google Drive folder for this student, and it automatically creates a whole nother calendar. So if you have 40 students and you enter them all in, you now have yourself 40 new calendars on your calendar, which is annoying as all hell. I don't see the value in that. Basically what I do, and the Google Drive folder too, sometimes in theory it works, but sometimes it doesn't. Like sometimes it'll allow some stuff to go into it, and then other times it just doesn't automatically put the stuff from the courses, from the classes into the Google Drive folder. So basically, essentially what I do is I just delete both of those. I delete the calendar and I delete the Google Drive folder. And then if a student needs something, if I already have the folder, I'll just share the folder with them. Or maybe I'll just create, their own folder. I'll start from scratch and put just the things I want in it, just so I know it works, and just share it with them. Cool, so that's that. Let's go to create. So you have assignment, you have a quiz assignment, you have a question, you have material, you have a reuse post, and topic. I'll start with topic. Actually, no, I'll start with assignment. So assignment is your general thing. Let's just click on it. You can, if there's multiple students, you can assign it to whoever you want. Let's just say basic chords. So I want you, and then you can write the instructions. So I want practice G to C. Okay. You can assign points, which is obviously more appropriate for a high school or middle school setting or whatever. However, so basically I use it as ungraded. But the thought crossed my mind that if you start using points like 1.5 points or something like that, you could kind of base the student's progress on that, if not create an incentive program for, like, you know, if a student gets so many points, maybe they get a free lesson, or they get, we're based out of a music store here, Flipside Music in Denver. So, you know, if there's this music store, maybe they get packs of strings, whatever. That's up to you. You can assign a date. So for instance, I want this due on the 20th. Now, I don't have much issues with that, but I did try to assign something. For instance, let's say I try to assign something on the 20th. The student saw it due on the 21st. It still said the 20th on my end, but they said they saw it on the 21st. So worst case scenario, if that's that, again, that's one of the things to circumvent. You just put it on the 19th if you want to do it on the 20th. Solved. No topic. I'm going to leave this blank for a second. I'll show you topics in a second, but I just wanted to prove a point with something really quick. And then here you can attach things. So for instance, you can just drag stuff in. So I want a G chord. We'll just throw this right in here and it's ready to go. You click upload, pretty quick. Okay. You can also pull in things from the Google Drive, YouTube links, general links. So for instance, I like to consider myself a nice guy. So one thing I like to do, just because, I was already on Google. If you type in metronome for Google, they give you a free one. You don't have to download anything. You just need the link. So I'm going to be courteous and put that in for them. Boom. So you can do stuff like that. Okay. So now I'm just going to assign this. And here we have our first exercise, whatever you want to call it. I'm going to do another one now. I'll do a quiz assignment so we can go over that actually. So let's call this theory quiz. So key signatures. So what's nice about this is you can use Google Forms. First of all, you can use Google Forms for a contact submission. So when you get a new student, you can just use it. So again, very useful across the board. It's not just one solution. So, you know, definitely another bonus to this. But basically it creates these quizzes. So let me just talk about this while I'm on topic. You can change the name of it here. So we'll say theory quiz. And for some reason it doesn't fill it up here. So you just write again. Okay. So in doing this, you have questions. Okay. So like, let's say, what's in the key of G? So you have options here. You can do a short answer, paragraph, multiple choice, checkboxes, blah, 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 blah. There's a whole bunch of options, even date and time. Again, this is for, it's kind of a blank template. So this doesn't necessarily make sense, or I don't know, there might be a question that works, but I wouldn't, you know, use that in this scenario, but date and time might be good for the contact information. If they're looking, you know, if they have specific days and times that they're hoping for, you can, you know, put that in there. But basically I've been just using it as a short answer. And then, so then you go to answer key, and you have a couple options. So I'm just going to write F# because obviously that's the answer. Now you can, here's an option to mark all other answers incorrect. Basically you have two options. If you don't click that, you're going to have to grade these. If you do click that, and you know, it'll give the student an immediate response when they're done with the quiz and they hand it in. So that's what I recommend. You just have to make sure that you tell them exactly how you wanted to fill it out, because even if you wrote like F as a lowercase sharp, that's considered wrong. It has to be exactly how it's entered right now. So as long as you give them the heads up on that. Here for a quiz, it's good to just see how well you're doing, right versus wrong. So I like to put in 5 points or whatever. And then that's pretty much it. You can start another answer right here. So, or a question, I should say. What's in the key of A? Again, I'm going to go short answer. Answer key, 5 points. F sharp, C sharp, G sharp. Boom. And essentially that's it. You can also add another one. You can, so again, you can press that plus question, or if you're, where is it? Oh, I thought I just saw it. Come on. Sorry, there it is. I don't know what happened. I guess you have to start with a blank one, but essentially you can duplicate it too. So that's just another way to add it. Up at the top, you can kind of change things. So like if you don't like the color, you can do that. This gets a little darker if you want. Fonts, they only give you 4, so it's, you know, something impressive. And you can change the image up at the top if you want, instead of just a blue header. Those are the themes. Great. If you want to preview it, you can just click here. Here it is right here. You can just type in the answer, F sharp, kind of thing. Now, going back to this, what I want to point out, which is really helpful. So for instance, let's say you're given a quiz on theory, you know, just what's in the key signatures. If you have a stagnant quiz that's the same answer, the same questions in the same order every time, then it's gonna get obvious. Because the students can take these over and over again. And for something like theory, when you're trying to get really good at figuring out what's in what key, it helps to drill it over and over and over again. But again, if the questions are in the same order, they're gonna catch on. They're gonna start to just memorize the answers to the test. Which, if you go to presentation, you can shuffle the order of the questions. So that's great. A lot of this stuff here, like show progress bar or show link in to submit another response, that I just don't. It doesn't come into play for me. You can collect email addresses. Again, that's for who submitted it, whatever. That doesn't really apply how I'm using it. You can maybe figure out a reason to use that. Edit after submit. Yeah, I like to do that just in case they mess up. And other than that, again, so immediately after each submission, so if it has the thing, it'll grade it yourself. And by thing, I mean the only accept the correct answer kind of a thing. And basically that's it for quizzes. You can just generally go to form and create them over here too. It doesn't necessarily have to be a part of a thing, assignment, but yeah, that's it. Okay, so back to here. I'm just gonna assign it, again, no topic. So let's check out what happens. So now you have 2 things and you can't move them. Kind of annoying, but again, there's ways around it. So now let's go to topic. If you go to topic, we'll just say exercises. So for instance, in the personal page, I like to break up their assignments. So like there's exercises, maybe they're working on songs, and we'll say scales. Now all of a sudden, you can move things, and that's great. Okay, basic chords would go under, we'll say exercises. Not only can you move things within one thing, but you can even move sections. So if you think songs are more important, you want that to the top, you can do that. It's only when there isn't a topic that everything is just stuck. So even if you don't even want a topic, I would recommend creating one right off the bat. Just in case you want to reorder something and you forget to put something in there. And then when you're done, you can just simply delete the topic, and it'll still keep these, and it'll keep them in the same order. It just won't be there anymore. So anyway, you can kind of drag them wherever. Great. Let's see. Did I forget anything? So you can edit it if you need to go back in. You could add more things. You get the idea. Topic, you can move it right here, so you can put to songs and then save. Okay. So you can drag them around, or you can do it right there. And I think that pretty much covers it for the classwork right there. No, I'm just kidding. We have a whole bunch more stuff. So I covered assignment, quiz assignment. You can ask a question. Maybe that comes up. One thing that I thought of is, every now and then I'll ask students, who do you want to cover? So list Favorite bands. I don't know why I kept fave, but you get the idea. And so, you know, it doesn't have to be points. It doesn't have to be short answer. You can do, or I guess it has to be short answer or multiple choice. So forget that. I wouldn't even do that. If you want to ask that question, just throw it in the stream. Be like, hey, and then they can respond to that. So I probably wouldn't even use that. It saves it in a draft. You can kind of get rid of it. So it's kind of nice. It's kind of auto save. It's really safe in that sense. Like, you can trust it. You can do materials too. So generally speaking, like for instance, the theory, I might want to attach like a circle of fists. Like that's the material. I think when you put it in the material that it's that much more guaranteed to go into the Google Drive folder, the Class Drive folder. But don't quote me on that. Generally speaking, again, I just kind of attach it to the assignment in general. Now, here's one thing that I just discovered that I didn't realize what was going on. You can reuse a post. I don't know why I didn't think that, but basically, if you have created methods before, so for instance, beginning guitar method, I have all these things that I, want to give to a student. You don't have to write it out again, and you don't have to, this is what I was talking about before, you don't have to have the student enter that class as well. So basically you can keep the student isolated in their own thing. And then if you want something from this course, like Knocking on Heaven's Door, you just click on it and you click reuse. And then when you have that option going, you can then write in additional instructions that aren't normally there. So you can delete something if it's not appropriate or doesn't pertain to what they're trying to work on. You can totally alter it. You can assign the date again. And again, I had it under lesson 3 and the other thing, so it automatically defaults to that. You can kind of get rid of that and then reassign it to songs. And then it's good. So that pretty much covers the classroom thing, classwork, I should say. Teachers and students, again, I was saying before, you can add students just by typing in their email right there and then send the invite. Sometimes that doesn't work. I don't know why. Maybe if you have 2 Google accounts going and the other one's open, when you try to confirm the invite, the student will get an email. It's just one button, you click invite, and then you're in theory. And if it doesn't work, you just give them this code and they are good to go. So you can also add teachers. And so let's say you create a course, but you have multiple teachers at your school and you want that other guitar teacher to also use the course you created. You can add them there and they can, they can alter stuff if they want. I don't want them altering my courses, but I'll just tell them that ahead of time. But they can assign things, basically, is the moral of the story, to their own personal students. And so that's good. Now, one of the roadblocks I actually just discovered before making this video, which I'm glad I did, I've been going to town on my other, so I've actually been using this through DB Sound Education. And I've been going to town, like here's all my students. You can order them over here. You can drag students over like this. Here, I'll just do this really quick. Or, if you have a whole bunch of courses and you don't feel like slowly dragging it all the way down to the ground, you can just simply move it and it says after. So for instance, if you just want it after Ike, you throw it in there after. You click on Ike and it puts it after Ike. So it's pretty convenient. You can, unfortunately, there's not, so this is the side menu right here. This is just the home page. So you just immediately go to that. You can go to your calendar. Which again, I'm not using, but I am using it, just not the calendar that the course creates. So it'll still open up to their Gmail and your Google Calendar, and that event should be there because that's what we're using it for. This to-do thing will give you all the assignments. So if you are the student, it'll give you all these things you need to work on. I don't need to work on all of those. That's just an illusion. Anyway, so yeah, all my students are on the side here. And then at the bottom, I have all these courses I've created. Now, the thing I ran into earlier was I got cut off from making courses. I think it was 55 was the magic number. Maybe it's more. I have some courses in archived, which I'll explain in a second. So that sucked. And I got nervous that I wasn't going to be able to do something about it. So what I figured out a way to work around it. When you hit your limit, you can't create more courses, but another person can invite you to become a teacher of a course, which means the way around that is I would recommend having 2 accounts if this is even a concern of yours, because I have a bunch of students, but I also want to create a whole bunch of courses. So the workaround for that is you have 2 different accounts. So I'm using the school as, I haven't had the time to go through it, but I'm going to be using the school as my courses. So the general courses that I want to assign to everybody. And then I'm using my other account to create the student profile. And so then, because what you can do is, even if you hit a wall with the courses you create, you can still be a teacher in other people's courses. So I create the student account in my personal account. Then I invite myself to be the teacher through my actual account, this account right here. And that way, so I have all the courses right here, but I still have access to the student from the other account, so that I can alter their thing. And basically it's just in a way to expand. Hopefully I explained that pretty clearly. But it's a workaround. It works. So far so good. I don't know if there's a cap on how many classes I can be a teacher in. I guess we'll find out. But hopefully there's not. And because I'd really like to use this and I plan on using it a lot, I would be happy to pay for a premium service that allows more courses or classes to create, but I don't think that's an option. Let's talk about archiving a course. So let's say, for instance, I'll go down here. I don't want to use holiday tunes anymore. So if you click on these 3 dots, you have some options again. You can move it, you can edit it, you can copy it. So let's say, yeah, if you just want to make a copy of the course, because one student is basically the same. Or for instance, one thing I did earlier, here I'll show you. I was doing, where is it? Beginner and intermediate repertoire. So what I did was I created a topic for every single letter. So eventually I'll have a full list of songs and they'll be in alphabetical order. But it's a pain in the butt to write out 26 letters. Every single time you want to create another course for a specific repertoire. Like for instance, this is just basic strum songs with riffs. I'll have one for, 1 to 2 bar chords or whatever. And so you can just copy that course so that the basic outline of all the topics are already there, and then you can just fill it in with other stuff. So actually, yeah, so let's go back. We're going to archive holiday tunes because it's February. We're done with that. So you just click archive, you go archive. So it's, anybody who's attached to that class is done. They can't see it anymore. And it's all the way down at the bottom here. You have archive classes. So here's all these things. You can either, and at this point, you can either move them. Again, you can move them just like that. You can move them here. You can copy. You can restore. I thought you were able to delete them. Okay. Interesting. So these right here, I think were the ones I share with my other account. So I'm not technically able to delete them because I didn't make them. But these I definitely did. Like I definitely created that one. So I can delete that. And so that's only deleting is only an option if you actually created the course, which makes sense. Settings, might as well talk about that. Profile, email notifications. If you add a student to a course that has, for instance, my general method course, where I'm constantly making updates, it's going to email them every single time you make an update. So I definitely recommend telling them to turn off the email notifications. Keep it from the personal one so they know the updates for that. But if you have them in a course like that. Classes you teach, late submissions, resubmissions, invitations to co-teach. So you got to turn that on if you want to invite another teacher. That's important. Other than that, again, you can turn on or off email notifications for a class. And that's pretty much it. I'm trying to think. Again, let me just recap. I use my school to create the courses. And now that I know, I use my personal account to create the student account. And then I add myself, my school account as the teacher to that in order to expand the limited options. But other than that, I think that pretty much covers it. Hopefully you enjoyed this tutorial. Let me know if you have any questions down below, and we'll see you again soon.